everybody. Welcome back to Yee-Haw, a Bonanza podcast. I'm your host, Melissa, and today we are watching Season 1, Episode 10, The Magnificent Adah. By the time this episode releases, it will be past Christmas. Christmas will have already happened. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy New Year. I hope you guys had a wonderful holiday. I'm sure I did. I don't know yet. I'm still past Melissa. I am not future Melissa who has experienced Christmas yet, but I'm sure it was wonderful, as it always is. I'm sure it was very busy as well. By the time this episode releases, if I have the dates correct on my calendar, it will be December 30th, which is my birthday. I am 30 on the 30th this year, which is crazy, because when I was a kid, I thought that 30 meant you were ancient, which is obviously not true. It's just weird that I've made it to 30 years on Earth. It is my golden birthday this year. So what better way to celebrate your birthday than watching a Bonanza episode? So doing it right, celebrating correctly. So let's get into the Magnificent Adah today. Before we do, guys, if you are watching this episode on YouTube today, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel before you leave today. Or if you are listening on Apple Podcasts or any other podcasting service, please consider leaving me a positive review on Apple Podcasts. I can't speak. Every little bit helps boost me in the numbers, and I would love to know what you think of the show. All right, who's ready to read some details on the Magnificent Adah? This is yet another Bonanza love story today. Well, kind of. I have thoughts about that. All right, so The Magnificent Adah, it was written by Donald Sanford, David Dortort, and Fred Hamilton. It was directed by Christian Nyby. It premiered November 14th, 1959. Its special guests were Ruth Roman, Dawn McGowan, Hal Smith. Words do not come easily to me today. Victor Sen Young, William Mims, and Faye Roop. Wow. Interesting last name. Mims and Roop. The episode description is, when an actress named Adah Menken comes into town, Ben considers marrying her, but his sons have other ideas. Meanwhile, trouble arrives when Adah's old lover, washed-up heavyweight boxer John C. Regan, comes along seeking his former glory. All right, so let's get a little bit of history on Ruth Roman, who is our guest star of this week. So, I'm not super familiar with her, but according to her IMDb page, why can't I speak today? She's known for Strangers on a Train, Beyond the Forest, Tomorrow is Another Day, and The Baby. She also appeared on Murder, She Wrote. I do want to watch that show with Angela Lansbury. Knots Landing, Echoes, Fantasy Island, Day of the Animals, Policewoman, Punch and Jody, Cannon, Cops, The Killing Kind, Go Ask Alice, Mod Squad, Night Gallery. She was on the TV series The Sixth Sense. I did not know there was a TV series called The Sixth Sense. Ironside, Gunsmoke, The Virginian, Mannix. Oh, a lot of popular shows on here. I Spy, Tarzan, The Girl from U.N.C.L.E., That Long Hot Summer, The Bing Crosby Show, Dr. Kildare, and so many more. There are so many shows I have not watched that I want to watch. So many TV shows, too little time. Wish I had more time to go through these, but I'm somebody who likes to take my time, especially when I find a new series that I like. But that's a little history on Ruth Roman. Not familiar with her, but again, there are so many actors and actresses here that I'm not familiar with, so I'm not going to beat myself up too much over that. Adah Menken is our historical figure of this week. Some fun facts on her. She was an American actress and painter. She was born 1835 and she died 1868. She died of tuberculosis in her early 30s. I think she was about 33 when she died, so she did not live very long. She's only 3 years older than I am. Goodness gracious. She had a successful acting career in New Orleans, but she was also a poet and primarily wanted to be known for her writing. Adah Menken was most famous for her performance in the hippo drama Mazeppa, which is featured in this episode. And the show apparently featured her nude and getting pulled away by a horse on a stage, but she wasn't actually nude, she was wearing tights. But audiences thought that she was nude in the show, so she caused a huge sensation, but the production of Mazeppa was wildly popular with audiences. So there is a little bit of history on Adah Menken. Bonanza Season 1 was just really pushing those historical figures week to week. David Dortort was like, more. Oh my gosh. And I did check out this episode on the box set, so let me go through the pictures and see what we got here. I usually take some snapshots on my phone so I can remember what we're looking at, but there were some pictures of Ruth Roman as Adah Menken where she's standing on the set for Mazeppa, and she's just posing with the horse, which is cute. There's also a really funny shot of her in her dressing room, I think, and she's sitting in the nude tights, but she's holding a cigarette, which is kind of funny. There are some pictures of Pernell, Dan, and Mike watching the show with their mouths agape, and then there's one of Pernell holding Dan back as he's standing up when Adah gets dragged off stage. But there's just some behind the scenes shots of the production that the boys are watching. I will tell you guys, I'm learning a lot about these historical figures week to week, getting a lot of new information. I guess I didn't realize how heavy Bonanza leaned on the historical figure of the week idea in season 1. But you learn a lot. All right, everybody, we are gonna hit play in like 2 seconds. Let me just pull this over. We are hitting play in 3, 2, 1, go. Love the sound of the bullets hitting the tree. I love those sound effects. They troll this poor man so hard in the beginning. I feel like if this was the first episode, they would be serious about this. But I just like how they're being facetious here for a change. Particularly Haas. Like, this is so mean. But I love it. It's a nice change. Joe. Adam is so parental to the both of them. Oh, I love that. This episode does remind me a lot of both the episodes of A Roast for Lotta and the Julia Bulette story. It has similar vibes. Look at Haas's middle part. Sweet bowler hat. I like how they try to sneak past Adam, but the implication is Adam has been one step ahead of them the entire time. The funny thing is Ben and Adam have probably been gone for hours. Like they all probably tried to out sneak the other person. So Ben probably snuck out of the house, and then Adam, and then little Joe and Hoss. This is Don McGowan, I think. McGowan, I think, as John Regan. Look at that painting behind them. That sultry painting of that lady. He was a good actor. I liked him. John C. Regan. And he's got the best voice. He's got like a really satisfying voice to listen to. Very rugged. Nice presence. You're a you're a done mudwalper? Some of the insults on this show, you could make a book. Stupid mudwalper. That seemed unnecessary, Sludge. Or whatever his name is. Sledge. I do love the punch sound effects too. It's so crisp. Ah, so crisp, those punches. You know how Indiana Jones went really hard on the punch and sound effects and the bullets and the sound design in the first film? Reminds me a little bit of that. All right, well, you'll be paying for that. I like how they just try to outmaneuver Adam, but Adam's always one step ahead. Now, I didn't look into this, but I wonder if this little like version of the production here is accurate to real life at all. I didn't look that up. Maybe I should. I should look that up if this has any accuracy to it. Adam's probably the only one who understands what they're saying. It's Shakespeare, but Adam Adam's little expression change there. Adam, oh, shut up. I can't find anything online on whether or not there's any accuracy here, but it wouldn't surprise me if there was. Haas is the most into this, which is what I love. Yeah, supposedly this show was a huge deal in the 1860s. This conversation. Yeah, supposedly people didn't know that either back in the day. There's a lot of debate over that. I just love that, like, oh shit. Yeah, I think one thing I didn't love about this episode is it does follow a theme with Julia Bulette and Lotta Crabtree, I think is her last name. It's just the beats kind of followed the same as those two previous episodes. And they all take place in the same room as well. That pheasant is looking very fresh. Boy, look at how cobalt gray Lauren's hair looks here. His hair color changes so much throughout the series. But it is gray here. I think one thing on Bonanza is when they introduced a love story, I don't know if they always gave the best writing for the love stories. Like, it'd be like they fall in love in an episode and then they lose the girl in the same episode, which is a common theme, but here I don't think they gave it enough weight. I just don't think Bonanza was very good at that. The approach to the boys, every single love story. And I guess it's because the show knew to an extent that none of the guys were going to find love. Lauren has the best voice, though. My gosh. Perfect voice for telling stories. He'd be good at audiobooks. Lauren Green would have been. And this is so weird. How long was he there for? That's extremely creepy that he was listening to that entire conversation. Oh yeah, and this toxic relationship. They also could have added more to why Adah kept going back to this toxic relationship. Like why she found him attractive, like why she kept running back to him, like why she couldn't let him go. Good presence overall. Great voice. I think he worked very well in the role. Like very intimidating, very very scary. Until he can't, according to Adam. Like they had a pretty severe reaction to this, didn't they? They are. Their reactions are funny. Yeah, Adam speaking plainly here. Adam sipping wine. Not if we have anything to say about it. Drop dead silence. I thought Ben was going to be like, okay, what's your deal? What's going on? But he was extremely charitable about it, I thought. That's very uncomfortable. They look like such little kids. Like they broke something and they went to him and they're like, "Don't get mad." I love that those are the first words he says. Like he could have said anything, but the fact that those were the first words was great. Love that coming from the writers. He's like, you guys are so cute for trying to interfere. Pa, she's an actress. It's perfect. I did like that writing a lot. It is interesting, just their generalized fear almost immediately when they find out that Ben's involved with Adah. Adam immediately taking matters into his own hands. Playing chess. Oof. Thank you for proving my point, Adah. Oh, he made out. I love how there's just this unspoken, let's seduce her to prove our point. There's just like, let's just kiss her and that'll be enough proof. At least for us. Oh my gosh. Joe, you smooth little talker. Did they all come together and they were like, here's a good plan. Let's try to seduce her. Probably not. I mean, I bet Adam went in on his own accord and he's like, I'm gonna prove my point. And then Joe probably made the decision on his own. I also like how Adah picks up on this too. So she's wearing the same costume that Lotta wears in A Rose for Lotta. So the throwbacks are even more prominent here. Why do you ask? Joe's like, oh, this was a bad plan. I did not think this through. Wow. See, I like that, but I don't love the added romance thrown in of Ben and Adah, which comes off very one-sided. There's also this implied history with Adah and Ben, but I don't think they do a good enough job. Like I feel like they needed to give us more. Like how did they meet? Like maybe Ben was writing letters to her. I don't know. Like the whole thing felt very underdeveloped. Also, Adah is collecting kisses from the Cartwrights like they're infinity stones. The only one she didn't get to was Hoss. Then she would have almost made out with the entire family. Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Oof. Yeah, the making out with Adah from like the whole family is a bit weird. But why? But why are you asking her to be your wife? It's a very loose relationship. It doesn't have a great foundation. It's just added there for the drama, the extra drama flair. Lorne just has the best voice, though. My gosh. Just imagine just a bunch of copies of Lorne Green audiobooks. I'd listen to them all the time. Oh, this makes me mad. Oh my gosh. That's so crappy. This interaction here makes the end scene, like the confrontation at the end scene, very satisfying. He looks into the face of the man who beat his brother nearly to death. And you get retribution in the end, which I love. My favorite part of this episode. But how? Yeah. Thank you. This admission is crazy. That is weird. I'm so sorry. She literally just told Ben, yeah, I know. I made out with your son. That is so weird. And Ben's chillness to it is very bizarre. It's craziness. Ben is way too chill with that for my liking. He's like, well, you are desirable, so I don't really blame him. Weird. I don't feel anything for this love story. I'm sorry. I feel like they could have dealt with this in a different way. They didn't need the romance added. It was just there for the drama, which I get, but I'm so glad the show improved. No, Joe. Oh gosh. The best part of this episode though is just the general family loyalty and the love between the Cartwright family. goodness. This is a very touching scene. He looks like such a little kid. Now this is my favorite scene in the whole episode coming up. Just the family care and concern in the dynamic is the best part of this entire story. Retribution time. You messed with the wrong family, and you are going to suffer the consequences, Mr. John C. Regan. This shot here. Oh, love that. Love that. Oh, you sick SOB. Now this unspoken moment between Adam and Haas. Perfect. I just love that unspoken moment between Haas and Adam. Looking out for Ben. Because Haas has the better chance. Just love that so much. Come on. They're just busting up this guy's place. Who's paying for all this? Yeah, you are not. Oh, solid punch. Very satisfying. Sick uppercut. Yeah, that's right. Run back to your toxic relationship. Don't look so sad, Ben. You weren't missing out on much anyway. He was so chill with that. Oh my gosh. I mean, that comment is the cherry on top, right? But still, very weird. Haas's blood was looking a little ketchupy there. Boy, Ben was very chill with that. She can have any man she wants, as I think you found out. Adam got so embarrassed there. It's like, I did it for you. Let's talk about some brief themes in this episode. Best part of this episode is just the theme on family love and loyalty and how the Cartwrights all look out for each other. I absolutely love that. I just love the general care and concern between the family, like getting involved because they love one another, and I think that's great. Ruth Roman plays Adah Menken. She's good. Like I said before, she does kind of fall into the same category as Lotta Crabtree and Julia Bulette a little bit, you know, with the Cartwrights and their questionable taste in women, just the generalized infatuation that comes over them as opposed to it actually being a story about love. So, little generic, not the worst. Don McGowan, he has awesome voice, booming presence. I enjoyed him. I think he suited the role quite well. Not a big part, but I think he worked very well and I liked him. My favorite scene is the scene where Haas steps in for Ben to beat up John after John beats up Little Joe. Adam and Haas having that unspoken moment where Adam's like, I'll hold him back so you can get some retribution for our little brother. Loved that. If you watch very carefully in the show, one of my favorite underrated dynamics in Bonanza is the relationship between Adam and Haas. Because right before a major things happen in an episode, let's say, they usually share glances. And the glances say so much. And I really like the episodes that focus on their dynamic. There's not a ton of them in the show. And it's something that I wish Bonanza did more of. But I really like that team up specifically, like the two older brothers working together to help their family out. I'm just a sucker for that relationship. I also like the scene where the boys go to the show and they come back and they first see their father with Adah. They look like little kids because they look so freaked out, like they were caught red-handed. The love story was definitely the weakest point of this episode. How did they know each other? Why was Ben in love with her? What was their history? How did he even come to meet her? In real life, Adah Menken was from New Orleans, which is where Ben meets Little Joe's mother, Marie. So it's kind of like weird they didn't make that connection, but because it's so early on in the series, they probably didn't have all the history figured out yet. Like, that's not like a super big nitpick, but I just don't think they gave any backstory or why Ben liked her or why he was in love with her. Like, maybe he had been writing letters to her and the boys had noticed, and then they find out that Adah's the woman that he's been writing letters to, and then they get freaked out. It's just there wasn't a big foundation there. I just didn't think it was very good. They kind of add this theme to the episode that they don't really explore about the boys trusting their father to make their own decisions. Like, I mentioned this earlier, but maybe the whole story of this episode could have been Ben was helping Adah because he was her friend, not because he was romantically interested. And the boys just initially misunderstood that. Like, you could have created this confusion about Ben and Adah's relationship, and they don't trust their father, so they think that they have to intervene, and then they realize at the end of the episode that they were entirely mistaken. But I think the romance kind of muddled that theme, that potential theme at least. Again, maybe that's something that I would have explored, but I didn't think that the love story just added a whole bunch to the episode. Like, I just felt it was very unnecessary. I guess my final takeaway is I love the family loyalty in Bonanza. I love the relationships. I love how they all care for each other. They all get worried about each other. I think the strong family ties in Bonanza is one of the reasons that this show could separate itself from other Westerns, because it became more than just another shootout Western. You know, they had positive family dynamics. It wasn't just about the action. It was about caring for other people and wanting the good of other people, and you know, they had great stories about morality. So I think the family dynamics in this one is probably the biggest standout point. Yeah, I think this episode is fine. I think it falls into the same category as a few episodes that came before it, but it's still nevertheless very enjoyable. I do enjoy the historical figures on Bonanza, but I have to say I am glad that they got away from it in later seasons and did more original stories. I like learning about the historical figures. I think it's a great way to curate interest in these real life people, but I don't love the having a historical figure of the week show. Like once in a while, I think it's good. It's different. It's a way to like switch up the stories on the show. But if you do it too much, it can kind of come off like a history kids educational show. It can just get old easily if you're doing it too many weeks in a row. And I think most of the episodes so far, this is episode 10. I think most of these episodes have been about historical figures because last week we had Mr. Henry Comstock, the Philip D.D. Scheimer story, and then, yeah, Mark Twain. Lotta Crabtree. I think most of these episodes have been about historical figures, and not many of them have been original characters. Wow, that is interesting. I guess I never thought about that the first run around, but I'm glad they got away from it. I think that the second half of season 1 has more original stories, if I'm remembering this correctly. I think they get away from it pretty quick. Oh, yeah, because the next week's episode is about I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's about Joe and that girl with the feuding families. And then they have the Hanging Posse, which is a great episode. The Outcast, A House Divided. Yeah, they start getting more original. They start deviating away from the historical figure of the week. But I do enjoy it. It's just you can't do it too much because A, it goes, okay, are the Cartwrights just running into every historical figure in history? That's a little bit weird. And B, it just gets tiring pretty quick if you do it too much. So I'm excited to get to the more original stories. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this episode, guys. If you want to email me, you can email me at meltyandjoys@gmail.com, and I would love to read your thoughts on the show. I've been playing catch up these last few weeks so I can get ahead of the posting process, so I might be a little bit behind on reading thoughts, but please send them in if you have thoughts or opinions on these episodes because I would still love to read them. Again, you can email me at meltyandjoys@gmail.com. Drop a comment if you're watching this on YouTube and let me know what you think. Next time, we are going to be watching, it's the love story. It's a Joe episode. Joe gets so many romance episodes on Bonanza. Okay, so we're going to be watching the Truckee Strip, and by that point, it will be 2025. So guys, I will see you in 2025. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, happy New Year. I hope you guys have a wonderful holiday with your family. And I will see you on the next episode of Yee-Haw, a Bonanza podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you later.